Progress.
Good to go. All right, let's call to order the Tax Increment District Joint Review Board meeting for Tuesday, March 11th, 2025 at 11:30. We will start with roll call. Cole Runge.
Here.
Gail Polchinski.
Here.
Adam Fost.
Here.
Diana Ellenbecker is here, and Brent Weicker is excused. Moving on to the approval of the agenda. Take a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
Second.
Get a first by Adam, a second, was that Cole?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Brent is joining now.
Okay.
All those in favor?
All in favor, yep? Say
Aye.
Opposed? That passes. Moving on to the approval of the minutes for December 6, 2024.
Move your first. Second.
Cole and Kale.
Cole and Kale. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That passes. Moving on to regular business. Consideration with possible action to review a proposed territory amendment resolution and project plan amendment for TID 5 East and West Downtown.
All right, I can take this. This should be a fairly simple request. TID 5 is near termination. It's actually terminating in December of next year. However, before that, we're currently looking at a development proposal on this parcel, which is located just south of Mason Street on Adams. It's actually located on two parcels. It's the Astor 1 project. They're looking at doing a multifamily development on this site. The site is actually, it's separated by two parcels, and so they need to combine those two parcels. The problem is one of those parcels is in TID 5 and the other is not. And you're not able to combine two parcels if one is located in an existing TID and the other is not. So we have to do this really minor territory amendment to either bring both parcels in the TID or take one out. So they're both outside of that TIF district. So that's what we're requesting to do here today. We're looking to remove just one parcel from the TIF district to allow the developer to combine those parcels and proceed with their project. So that would come out of the TID. In full transparency, we are in preliminary discussions with the developer to, there might be a TIF request coming here soon. So it's possible we would be creating a new TIF district for 2025. That is still in negotiation, so we might be coming back later this year with that request. But for now, we're just looking to remove this parcel from TID 5 so that they can combine the parcels and proceed with their project. Do you have any questions I can answer?
If there's no questions, I guess I would take a motion.
I'll move to approve the amendment.
Second.
All right, we had a motion by Adam, second by Cole. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That passes. Moving on to number 2, consideration with possible action to review a proposed allocation amendment resolution and project plan amendment for TID 12 in the I-43 Industrial Park.
All right, TID 12 is our I-43 Business Park TIF district. It's been operating for quite some time now. In fact, we are looking to terminate this TID. Its term date is scheduled currently for later this year in September. This request would be an allocation of funds. The first request would be for the allocation of $3.7 million from TID 12 to be transferred over to TID 22. This is our shipyard TIF district. we would request to move funds for cost of property acquisition, future development incentives, infrastructure, and public amenities that might be needed within the TID and within 1/2 mile for the purposes of blight elimination. The shipyard TID is a relatively newer TIF district. We've had a lot of investment, public investment in this TIF district for the creation of the shipyard park to support redevelopment of blighted properties, remediation of brownfields. We would be looking to conduct some additional property acquisition of blighted properties within this 1/2 mile of this TID. So that's primary purpose for this request is to move those funds over to TID 22 for those purposes. The second request is moving $2 million from TID 12 to TID 28. That's our JBS TIF district, which was created just last year. If you're not familiar with the JBS project, it's property that the city acquired here a couple years ago for the purposes of developing a new neighborhood and developing a new public park. We're installing new roadways, new infrastructure. So it's pretty substantial cost for that development. We have secured some grant funds, and we've also bonded to support those improvements, but we are still requiring some additional funding to move those projects forward. So that's the reason for that request. Looking at the next slide, just to remind you all how the process works. We initially start this request out with just this initial joint review board meeting to initiate the request. Later today, we'll be going to the redevelopment authority to request approval for these allocation amendments through that body. And then on Tuesday, March 18th, we'll be going to Common Council to finalize that approval, and then back to JRB for final approval of these TID allocations. Do you have any questions about these allocation requests that we can answer?
With TID 22, have you already identified the properties that the city would want to acquire?
We have identified some, yes. Very recently, actually, this was just a couple weeks ago, the Common Council did approve a development agreement with W.E. Hoban Company. Locally, many of us around here refer to them as Green Bay Drop Forge. That development agreement did allow for TIF incentives. The business is looking to relocate to our Grandview Industrial Park. With this agreement, the city would be acquiring their existing facility, their property on State Street. So that is within 1/2 mile of TID 22. So we would be looking to acquire that property with these funds. Potentially other properties too. We haven't finalized any other decisions yet, but there's some other sites we kind of have our eyes on as being good opportunities for brownfield remediation and redevelopment within the TIF district.
And are those, looking at that, is TID 22 not able to support those purchases?
No, and maybe Diana would be the better person to speak to the actual cash flow and current balances. It's a relatively new TID. We're pretty deep in the red currently as far as investment with public infrastructure. We have moved some funds over from other TIF districts. We've done some bonding with this TID as well.
Yeah, what I can tell you is right from the beginning, when this TID was open, we knew there was going to be very heavy city infrastructure needs. It was a property that the city has owned 30 plus years, and to make something happen, there was going to be substantial infrastructure needs. This is going to be a TID that was going to be very negative for a long period of time, and that was how it was presented. Even the former development director had put that out there. So at this point, it could take many, many years for it to come back out of the hole, but this is a situation that since these funds would be available to be moved into this district, it could help either bring in more new development, which would help generate some additional assessed value. And so that would just help this TID 22. But again, it was a situation where heavy cash infrastructure up front, and we've been calling that from the day we opened that TID.
I think for some context where I'm asking the questions is recognizing that if this TID is nearing closure with those balances, the balances would return to the overlying taxing entities. And in general, like the college views like TIF projects as being really important. Both like our graduates are often the folks who are working on them. Our graduates live in the community. We want the communities to be really vibrant so we can attract more workforce and retain workforce. But I'm more being mindful of kind of that JRB responsibility for making sure that there's a but-for element to it, and that the cost is making sense. So kind of getting a sense for if we are moving these balances to another project, the function behind what the anticipated use would be. So kind of similar question on TID 28. Can you tell me more about where those how those funds would be used for TID 28 and where the gap is in that current TID structure?
Sure. So TID 28 is JVS. As I mentioned, we acquired that property and investing in new roadways and new infrastructure and a new public park. The grant dollars that we've secured are not nearly enough to cover the vast majority of the costs that actually exist. We put the project out for bid this past year. The costs were significantly higher than what we anticipated. We've had some pretty substantial change orders since then as well. We anticipate there probably will be some more in the future. So this would allow us to, instead of further bonding, to take funds from TID 12 to utilize for the investment in that public infrastructure. We are nearing a development agreement with a developer to construct the multifamily housing within that district, which would help bring that TIF district into the black after a number of years. But in order for that project to move forward, we have to, of course, install the infrastructure, install the streets, and the public amenities. So,
For JBS, what kind of housing is that? That's affordable housing? Or
it's mixed income. The multifamily developer that we're currently negotiating the development agreement with, I believe that's primarily kind of workforce housing. So really between the 80 to 120% area median income. But in addition to that, there would be some single family lots, I think around 20 or so, many of which would be put into, we're anticipating to be put into a community land trust to allow those properties to remain affordable in perpetuity.
And the reason why I'm leaning toward that is because those development agreements typically are in a higher need of support to make them financially viable to complete the housing projects.
Yes.
So the ask for TID is going to be there because we've already started working with that developer.
Yes, we are working on the development agreement if assistance is anticipated as we get through the process for approvals.
Great, thank you. Those are the questions I had.
Yeah, happy to answer.
Any other questions? Otherwise, I would entertain a motion.
Make a motion. Second.
We have a motion by Kale, second by Cole. Any other discussion? If not, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Say aye. Opposed? Nay? That passes. Sorry, I didn't say nay. I passed. Any other information that you wanted to share?
Not at this time, except just we'll be coming back, right, for the process. So.
Yep. And then we'll normally have our annual meeting around June time period.
Yes.
Not adjournment. Motion for adjournment.
Before we adjourn, just so you know too, so if we have any meetings after April 1st, please notify Chad Weiniger of those meetings, please.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
So is this going to be your last meeting then, Cole?
Potentially, yeah.
Well, if our next meeting is after April 1st, I'll just take the opportunity now to thank you,
Yes.
Cole, for your service on the JRB. We really appreciate all your contributions over the years. And congratulations.
Yes.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. With that, motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Have a second?
I'll second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you all.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.